America. I'm at home, and I've been home all week, and this is my shop off in the background over here, and my old dead tree and my live tree, and I think that's a pecan tree. It's my neighbor over there. There's the front gate. There's my other neighbor and my cattle pasture. So what we got going today is, let's do a tour of the truck. I'm going to show the truck off to you for the first time. This will be episode 100. I've been waiting for 100 to show up to do this tour. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the outside and explain the truck a little bit, open the hood, and then we're going to get inside and go through the inside, the cab and the sleeper, pretty detailed. So I've had a few people asking me for this video, so I've been waiting until episode 100. So here we go. All right, that's it. It's a 2007 Peterbilt 379. It's a custom truck. It was built at Peterbilt and then shipped to ARI Custom Sleepers, and they put the big sleeper on it. So, well, we'll just go through it and we'll show you. All right, this is a 379 hood, and what they do with that hood is, it's a classic hood. It's like the old-timey hoods. They've had these for a long time. The original trucks had these big hoods on them. Then they went to a cab over and in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and then they went back to this classic hood. Well, they've had this classic hood all the time. Then after the cab overs, they started getting into the aerodynamic trucks. Well, this is definitely not an aerodynamic truck. It's about as aerodynamic as a brick. So what we got here is this hood. Now, it's an extended hood. A regular hood would only be about that long, okay? All right, this grill would be pushed back to about right here, and this little wide spot right here, that wouldn't be there. This hood would end about right here, would be right up against the windshield. I think it's 10 inches longer than a standard hood. So you have a standard hood, then you have a 10-inch longer extended hood. All right, and this is a 379 cab. In later years, they started making a bigger opening in the back, from the cab to the sleeper. They started making a bigger opening, so this cab got taller. Older trucks have a much shorter cab up here. This one here is about, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches taller on the inside. What that allows is a bigger back wall of the cab, so you can make a bigger opening back into the sleeper. All right, these are extra large tires that can haul extra weight, because there's so much weight with this sleeper here. There's so much weight that I got extra weight on the steer axle. This steer axle can hold 20,000 pounds. It's legal for 20,000 pounds. These tires won't hold that much, but close. I think they're like 9,000 a piece or something like that. And 8,800 pounds a piece. So 8,800 pounds per tire. That's 17,000 pounds, something like that. And anyway, normal tires are narrower than that. These tires, normal tires go to about here. These are about an inch and a half longer, or wider. So those are called 315s. 315 80 R 22.5. A normal tire is a 295 80 R 22.5. So, all right. Then back here, the step that goes up into the cab, that's where you store your batteries. The batteries are in there. There's 4 large, I think they're class 31 batteries, and they're a little bit bigger than your standard car battery, and there's 4 of them. And in here, this is your generator box. Open that up and you'll see there's a generator in there in the front, and goes all the way to the back. There's a little bit of storage up front here, and I've got, extension cord and extra oil and whatnot. That bottle of water, that's grease for my fifth wheel back there. So when my fifth wheel gets dry, I can squeeze that grease out and throw the bottle away. So here's my generator. This is how I keep track of the hours. This is the last time it got changed. The oil got changed, and I'm due for an oil change, as it shows. So I'll be doing that oil change here shortly. Going back here, this is the exhaust. That's the exhaust pipe for the generator. And it's real quiet. It's what they call a whisper unit. It's really, really quiet. So, all right. That's a 150-gallon fuel tank. There's one on this side. There's one on the other side. That's 300 gallons. I can't suck 300 gallons out of those. You have to have a little bit of airspace at the top for expansion. Take about 10 gallons at the top and about 10 gallons at the bottom that you can't get to because the sucker tube going down inside doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Otherwise, it'd suck up all the debris that's at the bottom. There's just little debris, little not sticks and stones, but muck, I should say, and it settles to the bottom. Occasionally you suck all that, get it out of there. But what it is the accumulation of water in your air, in your what do you call it? It don't matter. Anyway, then there's a step that goes up to the deck plate, and the deck plate goes to the back door. Here's my full fenders, and over the years I've scuffed them up a little bit. I got a scratch there, I got some scratches here and there. Right here's a big scratch or scuff. That's from the trailers. When I turn and I'm going up a hill or something, the trailer, the fifth wheel will bend enough to where the trailer might get over and scuff the fenders. This one here's got some pretty decent ones here. There's a big scar there, scuff. That's just grease. That's a scratch, but these are actual deep gouges right here. That's actually chunked down into the fiberglass. So I got a little bit of damage there, but nothing too serious. It's just cosmetic. And there's the other side. There's the other 150-gallon fuel tank, and the other step going up. This is a storage box, and I keep things like my tools and stuff in here. I got my tools and oil and grease and just things that I don't want to carry inside the cab. In this side, this is a storage box. I have tire chains in there for your tire, for snow chains. That's where I store those. And never put them on, but in certain states like Colorado, you have to have them. If you're in the state during a certain time of the year, you have to have them with you. If you don't, they'll fine you. And I guess, let's see what else we got here. I got LED headlights, and those suckers are bright. They're okay on low beam, but when you put them on high beam, they will light the night. And let's see what else we got here. These are the air breathers. I'm sure there's somebody out there that doesn't know what that is, but that's on both sides. There's an air breather, and that's for the air filters for the engine. And oh, these quilts here, those are so rocks don't chip the paint. Okay, and let's pop the hood open and I'll show you the underneath. All right, here's the driver's side of the engine, and some things that we have here for. Here's the engine block is down here. That's the head. That's where all the valves and the cams and all that stuff are at. This is your intake air. Air comes in here, comes out, goes through this. Oh, I gotta tighten that up. How'd that get loose? Oh, it goes right there. They had this apart the other day doing an overhaul or overhead, and he forgot to tighten one of the band clamps, so I have to tighten that up. Anyway, air comes in here, goes in the other side, and we'll show you how that goes. Air comes through this one, comes through this, into this one, and they wire together, as you can see. When they come in here, then they go into the turbo. They spin. This is the cold side of the turbo. This is the hot side. All right. I don't know if I ought to get too detailed on that or not. The engine blows. The engine exhaust comes out and spins this fan. I'm sorry. The engine exhaust comes out and spins this fan, and there's a shaft in here that spins the cold side, and this is an air pump. This is an This is where the hot air blowing spins and gets its power from, and that runs a shaft that goes in here to another impeller that pumps the air. So as air comes through, this air intake comes in here and it pumps it and pressurizes it. After it pressurizes it, it comes up this tube right here into this turbo. Same deal. There's twin turbos on this truck. It's a twin turbo cat Asus. Okay, so both of these turbos work together. Eventually the air gets pumped over and down through here, up through this. Now when you pressurize air and it's been by these hot turbos, the air coming through here is really hot now, like a hair dryer. It's pretty hot, so it comes through here and goes through the air to air. The air to air, here's your radiator, here's the air to air radiator, and here's your air conditioning condenser. Okay, so you have the 3 radiator systems. The air comes through here, goes through this air radiator, comes over to the other side, comes through this nozzle or this funnel, comes into this one and goes down into the intake and into the head and eventually down into the pistons. Okay, so that's how the air system works on a truck. Now this is the air compressor that compresses the air tanks for the brakes. These trucks have air brakes. Here's an air brake pod. That air brake pod pushes this lever right here. That lever pushes that cam. That goes into an S cam, and that S cam twists and expands the brakes up against the brake shoe, the brake drum. I'm sorry, the brake drum, and creates friction and stops you. So that's how air brakes work. There's your steering column coming down to the steering box. That steering box, that's a big steering box. Look on the steering box on your car. That's probably 5 or 6 times bigger. And let's see, what do we got here? All these fan belts, and right in here, that's a clutch. That's a fan clutch. When trucks are driving down the road, if they don't need cooling, they turn that fan off. I've heard something like 25 horsepower just to turn that fan. So if you don't need to turn that fan for cooling, if you're driving down the road and the air coming through the radiator is enough to, or through the grill is enough to cool the radiator, you don't need that fan sucking it through. So it shuts off and saves energy. Try to get a little bit better fuel mileage. When the truck gets a little warm, going up, you hit a hill, and as it starts to heat up, there's a sensor in here, and it tells that clutch to engage, and that fan will kick on. And up in the cab, doing 60 mile an hour, 70 mile an hour, you can hear it. You can hear it kick on. So what else we got here? Oh, fuel filters. That's the primary fuel filter, secondary fuel filter, or it's the other way around. This is the first filter that the fuel comes in, goes through this one first, then to that one, and then into the engine. So however you want to call that. This is the primary and this is the secondary, or vice versa, I don't know. What else we got? Here's the ECM back here. That's the electronic control module that runs all the electronics for the engine. The timing, when the injectors fire fuel into the piston, all that kind of stuff. There's your oil filter underneath there. It's a big one. It goes all the way up to it's about 14, 15 inches tall. That's pretty good size. Now, what else we got? I think that's about it under the hood. Right there's the windshield washer fluid. And there's a alternator, AC pump, water pump. What else? That's about it. All right, let's close the hood and let's go inside. All right, we're back. We're inside the cab now, and we're going to reshoot the interior shots. The interior shots that I shot before didn't come out very well. It's all I had to edit with. I edited it and put it up on YouTube, and it was substandard. It just wasn't good. It wasn't decent, so I thought, well, I'll reshoot it. The problems I was having was I was using this camera and it focuses in and out, and it would focus on the steering wheel, not the gauges, or I'd be pointing, I was holding the camera right up here trying to show all this stuff, and I'd be pointing and it'd focus on my finger, not the lens, or the gauge, or I'd poke at this lens, or I'd point at this gauge, and it'd focus on that gauge over there, or I'd be pointing in the wrong direction. It was just bad shots. So that's all I had. I edited it, put it up on YouTube. A few people pointed it out. I agreed with them, and it wasn't. I'm better than that. I can do better. So we're going to redo it. We're going to do it better. So what we're going to do is use the GoPro for this dash stuff, and in the sleeper, it doesn't focus. It's got a fixed lens, and it doesn't focus in and out. So it's just as much focused on right here as it is out there, and we won't have that issue anymore. So this is a couple days later. I'm over in Tennessee in a rainstorm. There's a hurricane that came up through. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, it was a small hurricane, but it's basically a rainstorm right now. So it's raining big time outside. Kind of paused right for the moment. That's why I stopped. So here we go. Here's the interior. Let's turn this on. So here we go. So here's the interior shots. All right. This is what I see going down the road. Now, here's the camera. It's a 77D that I'll be driving down the road, shooting back at me. Okay. And then I'd have the GoPro, which I'm using right now, but I'd have it mounted on this magnetic mount on the dash. Okay. Then that magnetic mount, sorry, the GoPro sits there. I also have another camera over here, and it is a regular dash cam. Okay, and it runs all the time. That camera is basically for accidents. If I'm driving down the road and something happens in front of me, either to protect myself from accidents and lawsuits or whatever, but also if I see something that's really neat, I don't have these other cameras running, I can use this camera, the footage, to show you guys. So I've caught a few things over the years. I'll probably do some kind of a montage or whatever someday. So let's get to the dash here. All right, here's where I'm driving down the road, and this is what I see. Okay, and we got the gauge cluster right in front of you. We have the speedometer and tach, and let's see here. Yeah, we got the speedometer and tach, and odometer, and engine hours, temperature, and trip miles. All right. Up here is a cluster of dummy lights, overheating issues or something like that. A dummy light will come on saying your engine's hot. But we have tons of gauges that tell us that also. So let's go through the gauges all one by one here. There's oil pressure. Right here's oil pressure gauge. That tells you what the pressure of oil is, of course. Coolant temperature. That tells you the temperature of the water inside the engine. There's your voltmeter. That shows you how many volts are in the battery right now, about 13. This is your amp meter, and right now, as you see, straight up and down is 0, and going this way is negative, and going that way is positive. Right now, I'm actually using battery. I've got the lights on, so the dash lights, the gauge lights come on, and I've got a fan running back in the sleeper right now, so it's drawing a little bit of juice, therefore the needle is slightly to the left. When I'm driving down the road and it's charging, it'll be to the right. And the more discharged the batteries are, the farther they are to the right. And as you drive through the day, it goes back up to 0 almost. Okay. Now we got primary and secondary air, and that's your air tanks. If you go back and look outside, there's air tanks right above the steps, the battery boxes and the storage box on the steps that go up into the cab. Right above that, there are two tanks, one on each side, and that's air tanks for your like brakes, and it runs a few other things in the truck, but mainly the brakes. Okay, and the air suspension, that's a secondary thing. All right, that's the primary air. This here's your fuel gauge. Now I've got two fuel tanks. But there's only one gauge, and it runs off the driver's side tank. Okay, and there's your oil temperature gauge, and because the truck's off right now, it's showing nothing. The trailer brake application. Now what that is, on the steering wheel, you have a handle, and that handle, if you watch that gauge, see how it goes up and down? What that's for is if I just want to lock the trailer only, if I want to, apply trailer brakes only for some reason, right? Mostly it's not for driving down a highway so much as sliding your tandems on a trailer if you need to do things like that. That's what this is for, okay? Instead of popping the air brakes down here. So that's a trailer air brake application, and this is a tractor air brake application. Now when I hit the foot feet down here, I hit the foot feet, both gauges go up. See, they both move, okay? But when I use the hand brake, only the trailer valve or gauge works. All right, so that tells you how much air pressure you're applying to the braking system. All right, up here is manifold. That's your manifold pressure or turbo boost, turbo pressure. At full bore, when I'm really getting after going up a mountain or something and really throwing the coals to this truck, it gets up about 35 to 38 pounds of pressure. Okay, so right now it's nothing because it's sitting still. Anyway, that's a manifold boost gauge. This here is the load suspension gauge. What it does is tells you how much air pressure you have in your air bags on your suspension. What that airbag suspension gauge does, it will help you guesstimate how much weight you have on your truck. Once you get fairly experienced with the truck, you can use that gauge to convert the pounds into or the pounds of air pressure into pounds of weight. Okay, there's a little calculation I can use, and it'll give me a general idea how heavy I am on the tractor. Okay, so there's more to it than that, but for this video, that's about all I really need to talk about on that. All right, this is your front axle and rear axle temperature gauge. Back here on your drive axles, there's oil inside, and if it's 110 degrees out in the desert in the middle of summer, it's hot, and you're pulling a heavy load up a mountain or whatever, you can watch these gauges get hotter and hotter, and they'll get up 200 degrees sometimes, you know. If you are leaking oil or something like that, and there's not as much oil in there to cool and lubricate, that temperature keeps going up, and when it gets too high, you know you've got a problem. But that's just to monitor the temperature in your rear axles. All right, then we go up here, back up to this pyro temperature gauge. That tells you how hot your turbo is. So you get your two turbo gauges right side by side here, and this is the temperature, and it's not just cruising down the highway on a flat ground pulling a light load. You have 700 degrees of air turbo temperature. When you're pulling a mountain, you can get up above 950. I've seen it as high as that. So that's just another gauge to help not overstress your motor. If you see these gauges going out of whack, you see the little red over here, all these that have red, if they start getting into the red zone, you got problems. So it's just to help monitor your truck and know what's going on underneath the hood, kind of thing, you know. This is your transmission temperature, and tells you how hot your training is. These are your two rear axles. This is your air filter. Okay, this is your air filter gauge. It shows in vacuum basically, and the higher the vacuum is, that means the more clogged your air filters are. Okay, same with the fuel filter. It's a vacuum, and when you're driving down the road, and I don't know why the engine's off right now, that should be nothing. So I bet if I cycled the key, that would go down to 0. But this is a fuel filters. The fuel filters, when they get clogged, that needle goes up, and that happens more often. This is like a once a year change. This is every time you change the oil. Right before you get changed oil, that gauge is up here, you know, 7, 8, 9, right up in that area, and because the filters are clogging, you know, getting gunk and junk in there. And then that's just a regular clock. Okay. All right, the switches right here. This is a PTO switch. This truck doesn't have a PTO, so I don't know why it has a switch on. Maybe the previous owners had a PTO on it. I don't know, but it's got a PTO gauge or switch. I mean, and that turns power takeoff. That turns it on and off. If I flip that switch, there's an air line underneath the truck that will bleed air. You can hear it, you know, psst, bleeding air off. The previous owner had a train bell on there. You know, the ding dong bell on a train. He had found one, and he had hooked it up to that switch right there. Right now it's not hooked up to anything, so if I flip that switch underneath the truck, you'd hear air leak out. This is your suspension, remember the load suspension gauge? This here, when you flip this switch, right now I can hear air leaking out of the back of the truck, and the air is leaking out, or deflating the airbags. Okay, you might want to do that to be able to get under a trailer or something. What it does is it lowers the suspension height of the truck. Okay, this here is the fifth wheel slide. I flip that switch, and some pneumatic rams on the back of the fifth wheel, or underneath the fifth wheel, poke in or pull in, and the fifth wheel can slide forward and back on the frame, and I can adjust weight with that. Okay, I can put more weight on the steer axle or slide it back and take more weight off of the steer axle. That way I can get my axles legal if I'm heavy or hauling a heavier load. This here is the lockers. It's kind of like four-wheel drive. It locks your axles. It's not four-wheel drive, of course, but what it does, it locks your axles to where if you're on a slippery surface, you can lock your axles and get better traction. Okay. All right, let's go back over to this side. Let's get under here. All right, here's your key, of course. There's your windshield, your headlights. It's your headlight switch, your park lights. This is the lights on the back of the sleeper that I got about, I don't know, probably a dozen red lights on the back of the sleeper. This is my mirror adjustment. If I turn it to the left, that does the driver's side mirror. If I turn it to the right, it's a passenger mirror, just like in your car, adjusting electrical mirrors. What we got here? Okay, this here switch, this is the dimmer for your dash lights. That dims your lights and on your dash. And this is your four-way flashers. You know, your four-way emergency flashers. So, all right, on the other side of the steering wheel, this is an ABS light switch. I don't use it for anything. This is an automatic traction control switch. I don't use it for anything. It's on here. I think it turns the ABS off. So if you hit, if you need for some reason to turn the ABS off, there's a switch. You can. It's just a spring-loaded switch, and it'll turn. See here, it turned the. See it flashing right there. This one. That's telling you the ABS is not active right now. And why you would do that, I'm not quite sure, but you know, maybe you want to. Maybe you want to do some drifting or something. Automatic traction control, I don't know why that would be there. You can maybe, I don't know, I don't really know what that switch is for. It's not on any other truck I've ever had. I would imagine if you push that button, it deactivates the traction control or activates it. I don't know. This is your Jake brake, your engine brake. And this is the on-off, and this is the selector for low, medium, and high. You got low, medium, and high. What that does is it's an engine retarder brake. It causes back pressure inside the engine. And on low, it's only 2 cylinders. On medium, is 4 cylinders, and on high is all 6 cylinders. Okay. All right. Then down here, this is a switch that is not really used anymore because this switch was for up here the spotlights. You know, on a police car, they got that light out there that comes in a handle and it can turn and up and down and turn the spotlight. This truck had 2 of them. Had one on this side, had one over there on that side. And this was the power switch that turned the electricity on and off. This is the engine fan. Remember, underneath the hood, I had the fan clutch that turns the fan on and off. This is a manual override. It forces the switch, the fan to turn on. You flip that switch and the fan locks on and stays on. You turn that back off, then it goes into automatic whether it needs it or not. This is your cruise control, just like in your car. You turn it on, turn it off. This is your set, reset, and then if you hit this 1, 2, 3, that's up 3 miles per hour, down 3 miles per hour, just like a regular car. Just different switch looking than on the steering wheel. Then you got your stereo, and then these are all extra switches over here. Only a couple of them are actually used. These two switches right here are actually used for mark lights on the side of the sleeper. This switch does all those extra lights that are on the side of the sleeper. This does a few others, one on the mirror. See that light underneath the mirror out there? That one, and one on the passenger side, and a couple other lights around the truck. That's what is on this switch. And this switch right here does the strobes. I don't know if you can see that in the daylight. But the guy that had this truck before me, he used to haul a little bit of oversized stuff, and they needed strobe lights on. So there's strobe lights on the outside of the truck here that kind of blend in. If you don't notice them, you don't notice them because they kind of blend in with the truck unless they turn on. The rest of these are just, there's nothing on them. They're blank switches. Then I've got my magnet mount for my phone. Just put my phone right there, and there you go. So this here is the air conditioning control, which I'm having troubles with right now. This switch right here got hot, and it's all corroded on the inside because it's a 10-year-old truck. It got hot and corroded, and so I took it out. If you can see, it's all kind of burnt up in there. See that burn mark? It got hot inside, and it melted the interior. So I took it apart and looked, and it's not fixable. So I went in to buy this little thing right here, and they said, well, we don't sell that. What do you mean you don't sell it? Well, we sell this whole pod as a unit. We don't sell individual pieces with just this one part you can't buy. You got to buy this whole thing. Oh, all right. Well, how much is that going to cost? $783. What? $780? Are you out of your mind? Well, we'll give you a discount, like 600 something. I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend 600 bucks on a piece of plastic. You're telling me this little thing here, and all it is switches to turn the AC on and off. That's all it is. You're telling me this is worth more than an iPhone? I don't think so. It's a piece of plastic with a couple, on-off switches on the inside. So anyway, what I did is I took it out, set it off to the side, run the wires out here, and I can hot wire it and make the fan work. I have it not working right now because I didn't want the noise of the fan. But air conditioning works. It looks a little goofy right now, but I'm looking for a used one of these. Once I find a used one, then I will I'll replace it. But I'm not spending 600 bucks on that piece of plastic. I'll find a used one for about $100 or $200 maybe. All right, down below, this is your brakes. This is your tractor brakes and your trailer brakes, and when you pull them, it sets the brakes. Your cigarette or ashtray, cigarette lighter, power port, coffee cup holder, and just like in your car, glove box and air vents and whatnot else. And this is your windows and door locks and different stuff. All right, then we over here. I took the passenger seat completely out of this truck. There used to be a seat right here, just like the one I'm sitting in. There was two of them side by side. I took it completely out, and I put in this desk. This desk is much more handy for me. So I set my laptop on it. I've got it all plugged in. I've got a drawer here and a drawer here that I can put just stuff that I need, close by. So I put that in there. This drawer opens when I'm driving down the road, so I put some Velcro right here. Redneck ingenuity, huh? And put a little lever here or lock here so those drawers don't open when I'm driving down the road. And I've got my briefcase back here, and that's kind of my setup. That's what I have driving down the road. CB's up here. I've got a cubby hole up here. Got a cubby hole here and a cubby hole there. And of course visors just like in your car. But that's it. That's the cab. Okay? All right. Well, let's go back there. Let's go back into the sleeper and see what we got back there, okay? Okay. This is the sleeper. This is a custom ARI sleeper. It's a 132 inches. So from the front of the sleeper all the way to the back is 132 inches long, which is 11 feet. Okay, a standard sleeper is the biggest one Peterbilt makes is 70 inch, and that would come back to about right here, about where the sink is. That would be the back wall. This would be outside. Here's your back wall, and here's your bed. Will come up to about right here, and then from here, if I was sitting on the edge of the bed, this would be about where I'm at. Okay, There'll be a cabinet right over here. There'll be a cabinet over here. Maybe some cabinets around behind you, above, you know, depending on what trim level you purchased. But that's about it. On this one, I can do exercises in here. Got a shower back here, kitchen, and the bed, refrigerator, stove, and storage. So let's go through it all one by one and see what this place is all about. All right. This here's your entertainment center, your TV. This is a 32-inch smart TV. What it does, I can hook it to the internet and watch Amazon or Netflix on this TV. Even if I don't have TV reception, as long as I got cell phone reception, I can watch some kind of TV. This is entertainment, surround sound, DVD player, and Xbox. All right. And then, all right, this over here is a cupboard, a pantry, and I keep my canned goods and chips and whatnot, and my tea, just things, the same thing you put in your pantry. Put that up there, and then down here's your kitchen. This is a kitchen countertop with a stove. This is a stovetop, a 2-burner stovetop, electric stove. It's not an induction stove. It's just a regular heating element electric stove, just like you'd have at your house. Okay. This is a cover, so you have a little extra countertop when you're not using it. Protects the glass also. This is a dirty sink. I need to get some bleach or something to clean the bottom of this sink out. It's kind of stained a little bit, but otherwise I'd rather it be stainless steel, but it is what it is. So got this right above it is the medicine cabinet. That's where I keep my spices, my seasonings and whatnot, salt and pepper, sugar, you know, that kind of stuff. All right, let's see, down below we have a control panel down here. This control panel, what it's for is, this is lights. This is for your overhead lights. Should have had them on. This is an outlet that only works when the generator is running. Okay, that's 110 house outlet generator. This is the dimmer switch for the overhead lights. Okay, this is a switch for the water heater. So when the truck's not running and it's been cold for a while, I'll get into that in a second. But this is a switch that turns the water heater on. This is the water pump, turns the water pump on so the faucet will work. This is a little voltmeter gauge that has never worked. I don't know, it went bad somewhere along the line. I don't really need it because there's a voltmeter inside the generator. So here's your generator. It's just a regular Onan generator like you'd have in an RV. Okay, this is your start, stop, different menu scrolls and whatnot, and your readout. And then on either side is a vent for the air conditioner. All right, now the air conditioner is up in the dash, just like in your car. It's on the firewall and blows through the vents in the thing. But that's not big enough to do this whole sleeper back here. So we have another air conditioner, a secondary sleeper air conditioner back here. All trucks that have sleepers have a secondary air conditioner back here. It's not special to this truck, okay? So this one here, there's your vents, and there's the actual blower down below on the floor, okay? And there's a shelf, and I put cleaners and stuff down in there. This is the control panel for the air conditioner, and it's just like pretty much like at home. You got your off, your cool and heat. You got your fan up, you know, 1, 2, 3 fan, and then your temperature selector up and down for temperature. So that's for when I'm driving down the road. The dash air conditioner and this one work together to keep the whole place cool while I'm driving. When I come parked and I'm sitting for a while, don't want to idle the main engine, so turn this one on. This is, you have to turn the generator on, and then this is a RV air conditioner. It's up in the roof, okay? And it's just like you're at home, just kind of the same, all the same controls, you know, your heating, cooling, the fan, the auto, and your temperature control, all right? And there's a clock, and, oh, okay, then we got the, let's do the rest of the cabinet down here. This is the kitchen counter kitchen drawer. I keep my silverware and whatnot, a cereal bowl, and this is a Bluetooth speaker I use when I've got the computer back here working. Down below, this is my pots and pans and plates and some of the just whatever I need to cook with. Okay. And down below that, this is my junk drawer. It's got a bunch of junk in here. Extra cables for computer, extension cord, extra batteries, just whatever. Just stuff that I don't have anyplace else for. Yeah, and then this over here, this little cabinet it can be used for different things. They put a curtain rod in here, so you can use this for storing clothes, hanging your shirts and your pants and stuff in here. I don't really need it because I don't have that many clothes. I'd rather use it for this kind of storage. My coffee pot, I don't leave it on the counter when I'm driving down the road. It might slide off and break, so I put it back in its box every day. There's green beans. I got canned goods back there, and I've got cereal, Pop-Tarts, sugar, just whatever, just storage. That's my printer for my computer. I have to print stuff out sometimes, and a vacuum cleaner. So that's that cabinet. On your window, yeah, I'm parked in a truck stop now. This is a shade, a day shade that lets light through, and then a night shade blocks most of the light. It's not completely black, but it's mostly black. And then the windows can open and close. Okay, so that's with that. All right, we got the shower, big mirror, shower curtain. Just a shower, but it is nice to have one on board. It really is. Not much to say about a shower. Just water comes out there and goes out there. There's a toilet in here, and the way this toilet works is you push this little blue button. There we go. Push that little blue button, and it fills up a little bit of water in the bottom of the bowl. You do your business, and then you flip this lever, and it opens a trap door into the lower section, and then you can push this button and it'll swirl and rinse it out. Close the trap door, and you're done. Then later on, you have to go outside and pull the cassette out and go dump the black tank. So anyway, that's your shower. Not much to it. Alright, then we got cabinets back here. This is where my cabinets are for my long sleeve shirts and coat. I've got a jean jacket coat in here. It's just, that's a clothes closet. This is a clothes closet for summer clothes, short sleeve shirts, t-shirts, whatnot. This is a lawn chair that I carry with me just in case I want to sit around outside. Down here is a cabinet for just tools and whatnot. You can put whatever you want in these cabinets, but that's what I put in there. I've got a cordless drill back there. I've got let's see, a power inverter. It's actually clips for these clips for the doors. That's a little stove, plug in a cigarette, 12-volt stove you plug in a cigarette lighter. And then I've got oil and oil filters, and I got a lot of filters back up in here for like the air conditioner. This is oil for the generator, filter for the generator, that kind of stuff. Okay. Then on this side, this is just more storage over here. And this is my big long lens. That's a really long 600mm lens that I use for on my camera. And I've got a tripod back there. I've got just paper towels, a broom, dustpan, whatnot. Just stuff I have back there. Now, what's this little box right here for? What's this little box right here for? Extra water. That's drinking water for the coffee machine. When you get fuel at these hydrants and stuff, some towns the water doesn't taste very good. So I carry my own water for the coffee. That way my coffee tastes the same every day. You get some bad water, coffee doesn't taste so great. All right, we got cabinets up above. Okay, jeans and shorts, pants. Got more back in there. This is paperwork for work business. This is socks and underwear drawer. You don't want to look in there. This is a shower, extra towels, shower kit, medicine kit, DVDs. I got extra sheets and blankets up there. This is a cabinet. It has this is all my video games for the Xbox, controllers, books, just storage. I've got an extra controller, a power supply for my laptop, just stuff in there, extra notepads. You got it. So, all right, now let's look at the bed. Well, let me set you up here. So, all right, so now let's look at the bed. At night, well, here's the dinette you can sit at. You can take this cushion off. Take this cushion off. Little lever, right here's a little lever, or a latch. You fold that down. And there's your bed. You got a little empty space right in here. So I put the cabinet, the cushions back in here. So that's ready to go to bed. In the morning I get up, make the bed, take the cushions out, fold that up, make sure that's latched, store the pillow, put the cushions. I can put the cushions this way. They're facing together like a dinette table, or I can turn them like this. So when I sit down, when I'm watching TV, I've got a backrest there, so I can turn this way or this way. You know, adjustable. What else we got? Oh, underneath. All right, underneath here, pull these cushions out. There's a trap door. You open that door, and let's look in here. All right, this right back here is a water heater, and it runs off of electric and the main engine. So the main engine has hot water in the radiator. So there's a hose comes from the radiator back here and goes through a coil inside, and then back out to the engine, and then it's flooded around that coil is flooded water, and that water gets hot because of that coil inside. Okay, when I pull over, like right now, I just got done driving here a little while, that water is about 180 degrees in there. So if I went to take a shower right now, it would scald me. So you got it is very hot. So you have to temper it with the cold water. So when you haven't been driving for a while and you need some hot water, you can turn the generator on. Remember this switch I told you about? You flip that switch on and it turns on an electric element on the inside of the heater and heats the water that way. So this box over here is a battery charger. When you're driving down the road, the alternator charges the batteries, but when you sit still and you turn the generator on, the generator charges the batteries. That's pretty important for the next thing I'm talking about. This right here is a control box. This little control box, it's a fuse box basically. It's a control junction box, I should say. That's for all the 12 volt. Now, everything in here, all these lights that are working right now, the electric pump for the water, the TV, everything that's working right now is running off of battery power. All the 4 batteries out underneath the driver's step. Now, eventually you need to charge those batteries up. Now you can charge them up with the generator. The generator starts, turns the battery charger on. Battery charger charges the batteries, and you have 12 volt power for TV and whatnot else, and the refrigerator. Okay. When you're driving down the road, the alternator does all that. Now there are certain things in here that 12 volt just can't do. Okay, there's a inverter down here, and I think it's a 2,000 watt. I think it's a 2,000 watt inverter, and that 2,000 watt inverter changes DC to AC power, and that's for things like the TV run off of AC. Well, there's other things in here that that inverter's not strong enough to run. For instance, the air conditioner, the stovetop, and the oven. They draw too much power. The microwave might run off that inverter, but it's already wired the other way, so why change it? But if I need to run any of those appliances, I start the generator up, and I've got unlimited AC, just like in your house. When I shut the generator off, then I have to run off the batteries, that inverter, and then all this other stuff that is 12 volt. Okay, so that's the different systems in there. Way back in the back here in the shadows, that's the water pump. Okay, so you flip the switch on, it turns that electric water pump on and pumps the water around to the sink area and to the shower. Okay, so now that's on this seat. On the other seat, nothing much to show you under there, but it's the water tank. It's the 30 gallon water tank down here. See? That's it. So anyway, where are we at? Got everything covered, I think. It's a fantastic fan. You open the vent and it'll suck, or it'll blow air in or blow air out. And it's got a thermostat on it, so when it gets hot, you can set, I never do it, but you can set it to when it gets to a certain temperature in here, that fan will kick on. What else we got? I think that's about it. And it's getting muggy in here. It's raining outside and it's humid. So I think that's enough on this. It's a pretty decent little video on the interior of this truck. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I videoed previously and it wasn't any good, and I used it, put it on there, and some people pointed out, that's not very good, they can do better. And they were right. So hopefully this is a little bit better video. Hopefully this camera worked a little bit better than the other one, and hope you enjoyed. So I know I enjoy this truck. I love this thing. So all right, I gotta say that. We'll see you out on the road sometime. See ya. Bye.